Okay.
Let us start.
Okay.
Let us do the formalities in the beginning. We'll have a inaugural session. After the inaugural, we'll ask you to kindly share your PPT.
Okay.
Make sure yours is not one of them. I extend my warm greeting.
Hello.
So am I audible?
You are audible, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are clearly audible.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
So let the Sneha start the program, and afterwards she'll call you and me to speak. So Sneha, now you can begin the session.
Thank you. Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible. Please let me start with the session. Am I audible and
Yes,
visible?
clearly. Sneha, please start.
Workplaces that tolerate harassment have more of it. Make sure yours is not one of them. I extend my warm greetings to respected Dean Ma'am, HOD Sir, our guest of the day, Professor Brigadier Ramesh Chandra, all the faculty members, and my dear students. I, Sneha Pandey, Assistant Professor, on behalf of the Department of Management Studies, GL Bajaj Educational Institutions, welcome everyone present here to this virtual management development program on prevention of sexual harassment act 2013. Thank you for joining us today. Let us begin this session with our traditional auspicious ceremony, taking the blessings of Ma Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. Know what sparks the light in you, then use that light to illuminate the world.
ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं
To address this wonderful day, we have with us Professor Ramesh Chandra. He's a renowned professor and a visiting faculty in HR, OB, MDP's corporate training, executive coach. He has served as a chairperson HR OB and Dean Business School, New Delhi. He was the director, Institute of Agribusiness Management, Noida. He's a senior retired Army brigadier, having very sound management education and engineering background, with a total of 52 years of diverse and rich hands-on techno-managerial experience in the Army, in technology management, HRD, general administration, and logistics, followed by another 17 years of corporate educational institutes, valuable experience at the level of vice president, unit head, director, dean, professor, corporate trainer, and an executive coach. He possesses adequate proficiency in passionately teaching various HRM, OB, and general management subjects at MBA level and imparting corporate training to executives in behavioral science subjects. He has handled wide-ranging duties and responsibilities of challenging assignments of senior management levels under daunting environments with document success. Professor Chandra earned his Masters of Technology Management System specialization in HR and Finance from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi in 1993, postgraduate diploma in Business Management from Institute of Marketing and Management, New Delhi in 1986, Bachelor of Engineering, Electronics and Telecommunication in 1971. He completed his advanced corporate course in strategic management from IMA New Delhi in 1998, diploma in computer science and applications in 1998, and Bachelor of Science in 1964. Welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you here. To move.
Thank you, ma'am. May I start sharing? Hello.
I would request Dr. Deepa Gupta ma'am to kindly.
All right, sir. So before beginning the session, I would like to welcome all the participants and users. So good morning, everyone. It is my great pleasure as Dean, Department of Management Studies, to welcome you all to be the part of this virtual management development program. Hope during this unprecedented times of COVID-19 and when we are, having all the activities, all the sessions in a virtual mode, you and your family are doing well. The quest of knowledge has been from the beginning of time, but knowledge only becomes valuable when it is disseminated and applied to the benefit of humankind. We need to understand that if we have an educated in our organizations in India, then why do we need such kind of training programs? Where is the need to organize such kind of programs or the training programs based on the prevention of sexual harassment in our organization? But participants, unfortunately, the education has nothing to do with such kind of activities related to sexual harassment. So let's try to understand about PoSH in detail during the whole day management development program which we have organized. Let me give you some statistics related to such kind of cases. According to data published by Ministry of Women and Child Development, the number of cases of sexual harassment in the workplaces in India registered jumped from 17% to 54% now. And according to statistics released by the National Crime Records Bureau of States, Uttar Pradesh recorded the most number of cases in this regard. So with the growth of gender equality, women empowerment, globalization, and larger influx of women into the mainstream workforce of India, the sexual harassment at workplace has assumed a greater dimension. And a lot of debate needs to be taken care of in this particular direction. In the form of gender discrimination, which violates the women's fundamental rights to equality. We talk about equality in the organization and the right to life. This was guaranteed under Article 14, 15, and 21 of the Constitution of India. Workplace sexual harassments not only create an insecure and hostile environment for the women, but also affect their ability to deliver in today's competitive world. it also adversely affects their social and economic growth. And ultimately, it is going to affect the nation in totality. The purpose of organizing such kind of training program is because there is a mandate from the government that we need to create such kind of awareness training program to keep employees and the stakeholders aware of PoSH Act. Employees and employers need to understand that mild to moderate jokes, which can be sexual, which can be derogatory remarks, or which can be the statements, objectionable statements, can turn the office environment into toxic one, and that will make someone uncomfortable to work with. Today's awareness management development program is designed to address the perceptions of sexual harassment cases and make them understand why and how to prevent such cases in our organization. What are the policy and the complaint mechanism? If organizations found guilty in such kind of cases, dear participants, there is a heavy penalties like fine of rupees 50,000 for the first time offense and the cancellation of business license. So this is a clear message to all the participants who are going to start their startup or business. They need to keep in mind, if in your organization there are more than 10 employees, then you need to have a kind of internal committee in your organization so that that committee can take care of such cases. I'm so glad, dear participant, that we have with us very knowledgeable international master trainer, Ramesh Chandra sir, who has almost 56 years of experience in training and education. And he has enough knowledge about the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, and he has taken such kind of training programs in the renowned organization, public sector organization like NTPC, NSIC, GAIL, etc. So with all these words, I would like to invite, and without much ado, I request Ramesh sir to kindly take over the session and kindly enlighten us on this very important, pertinent topic, that is PoSH Act 2013. Sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for very kind words. In fact, for the last 3-4 years, ever since I have been associated with GL Bajaj Institute, having attended 2 seminars over there and met you, it's your exchanging of card with me that we have reached today at this stage. I'm glad, instead of occupying the podium in your hall, I'm occupying my study room only. Virtually, we'll do that, but it's good to start our association and take it forward. I'm grateful. Just for the participants' knowledge, I will take 4 sessions of about 1 hour and 30 minutes each to say, but we'll cut short by 10 minutes, first session and third session, so that your record of attendance and other things is updated, and your certificates are delivered to all those who deserve it. With these words, I'll try and start sharing my screen. Hello, can you all see the screen?
I think it's loading, sir.
Hmm?
Screen is loading. Now it is visible, sir.
Visible? I'll enlarge it. Just a minute. Now it's visible?
Very much, sir.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the subject as given in your flyer issued is Prevention of Sexual Harassment, PoSH Act 2013. Just to make the subject short, sweet, and crisp, this name has been given. Actually, this is not really the name of the subject. The subject full name is, I'm going to share with you just now in the next slide. Change the slide. Yeah, the full subject name is the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act 2013. This is the full subject, and objective as given in the flyer to you are on your screen. Just have a look at it. You have already seen it, all that in the flyer issued to you. Keeping these objectives in mind, I have divided my complete talk in 7 sections. In session 1, we'll try introduce the subject and tell you the historical background of the advent of PoSH Act 2013. In section 2, we'll talk about basic concepts. Section 2 will be devoted to section 3, prevention and prohibition of sexual harassment. Next, session 3, after the lunch break, we'll have section 4, redressal of grievances, and in section 5, monitoring mechanism. In last section, section 4 and section 6 will have miscellaneous aspects, and we'll do 3 exercises and 2 case studies, followed by my concluding remarks, and thereafter, after the concluding remarks, we'll have question answer session. Is the roadmap clear to everybody? Right. Contents run into 10 pages. In fact, I won't like to share all these 10 with you. I'll just show you quickly, because there's no point in reading or understanding it. You will soon forget these 10 pages. As and when the things come, all I want to assure you, with the help of approximately 387 slides, which I want to share with you in about 5.5 hours time, whatever possible is there, I'll cover it up. My good or bad habit is I want my students or participants to know more than what I know the subject. Every time with that aim, I load my slide with a lot of information, voluminous data, and so on and so forth, instead of following the usual practice of a guest lecture, 10 slides, 20 words in a slide, 30 font size, and 40 minutes duration, and after that, the concentration finishes. Well, in miscellaneous, I had Me Too movement. I have added about 25 slides on sexual harassment in working from home, which is one of your objectives, and how to prevent such a virtual sexual harassment. I have added these. This was not there earlier, and remaining things I will, as and when reach there, will do that. Well, before I start the introduction of the topic, I want to share with you few popular quotes, which will tell you what is the importance of a subject which we are handling today. While a murder destroys the physical frame of the victim, sexual harassment degrades and defiles the soul of a helpless woman. It's anonymous. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in 60s had said, you can tell the condition of a nation by just looking at the status of its women. Swami Vivekananda quote, countries and nations which do not respect women have never become great, nor will ever be in future. जिस घर में नारी का सम्मान होगा, उस घर में भगवान का वास होगा. Rigveda. In the Rigveda, this shlok is in Sanskrit. I couldn't reproduce that Sanskrit shlok over here. I have translated it in my own words. जिस घर में नारी का सम्मान होगा, उस घर में भगवान का वास होगा. This is what Menka Gandhi, the Minister for Women and Child Development, while releasing this book on the subject, had said in 2013. With improved access to education and employment, millions of Indian women are entering the country's workforce today. Many working women face sexual harassment at workplace on daily basis. It's crucial, therefore, that as a country, we strive to eliminate workplace sexual harassment, since women have the right to work in safe and secure environment. Protection of women is necessary for gender equality and development of nation as a whole. Menka Gandhi, Minister of State for Women and Child Development. You see on this slide a national Hindi poet couplet, Abla nari जीवन की है बस यही कहानी, आंचल में है दूध और आंखों में पानी. I think I was in the school, 5th or 6th standard, 60, 70 years back. A national Hindi poet had given this couplet. At that time, there was no such thing as sexual harassment. People used to call it eve teasing. And parents used to give education to their girls, daughters, just up to 7th, 8th standard. By the time they grow up, eve teasing starts, they will withdraw her from the school. They say to become a good housemaker, more than 8 standards is not necessary. Today, things have changed. Women are doing much better than even gentlemen in all walks of life. You can quote any number of people. Well, you can imagine today, even the fighter pilots flying the aircraft in enemy territory to destroy targets is being done by women. If they can become fighter pilots, what else you expect? Well, another Me Too movement in the world has swept the tide. With that, women are saying enough is enough. We are not going to tolerate it. They have started speaking up against this sort of a violence, and we'll see in the course of duration today what all we have to see in this field. Section 1, Introductory and Historical Background and the Advent of Law on Workplace Sexual Harassment. Introduction. Long bygone are the days when men used to be the sole breadwinner of a family. Globalization has brought a radical change in the status of women worldwide. However, with the larger influx of women in the mainstream workforce of India, sexual harassment at workplace has assumed greater dimensions. Workplace sexual harassment is a form of gender discrimination, which violates a woman's fundamental right to equality and right to life, guaranteed under Articles 14, 15, and 21 of the Constitution of India. In India, a woman is sexually harassed every 12 minutes. Workplace sexual harassment not only creates an insecure and hostile working environment for women, but also impedes their ability to deliver in today's competing world. Apart from interfering with their performance at work, it also adversely affects their social and economic growth and puts them through physical and emotional suffering. India's first legislation specifically addressing the issue of workplace sexual harassment, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013, more popularly just known as PoSH Act, was enacted by the Ministry of Women and Child Development India in 2013. The government also subsequently notified the rules under the PoSH Act titled Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Rules 2013, popularly known as PoSH Rules. The same year, 2013, also witnessed the promulgation of law of the Criminal Amendment Act. Criminal law were amended. Earlier, the punishment used to be much, and many laws were not there covering this subject. All this was done, and new laws about stalking, about voyeurism, and so on were introduced. We talk about it later, that what all the new laws introduced and how much punishment has been increased. The PoSH Act has been enacted with the objective of preventing and protecting women against workplace sexual harassment and to ensure effective redressal of complaints of sexual harassment. The management of every organization realizes today that its very existence and growth depends on the best utilization of all its resources. This is possible only when its entire workforce is actively engaged towards the realization of the vision, mission, and goals of the organization, which can happen only when the employees are provided with a respectful workplace, which includes a gender-sensitive environment, acting as a catalyst for them to utilize their intellectual and physical capabilities without any hindrance. Further, due to shift in cultural beliefs, women empowerment and worldwide campaigns like Me Too, which have exposed many celebrities involved in a big way in acts of sexual harassment, women no longer want to be treated as decorative assets only. They want to be taken seriously and valued actually as per their work and their capability. While this statute, PoSH Act 2013, aims at providing every woman irrespective of our age or employment status. A safe, secure, and dignified working environment free from all forms of harassment under the provision of sexual harassment of women at workplace, PoSH Act 13. However, its proper implementation of the provision of the statute remains a big challenge. Although the law preventing sexual harassment has been in force since December 2013, there remains lack of clarity on various aspects pertaining to the statute, including what constitutes sexual harassment, obligation of an employer, remedies or safeguards available to the victim, procedure of investigation, etc. Many are also not fully aware of the criminal consequences of sexual harassment. The flip side has also been exposed, and the subject suddenly became very hot and very important when a senior employee, Assistant Vice President, late Mr. Swarup Raj of Genpact in Noida on the Express Highway, committed suicide in December 2018, just based on allegations by two women of his organization of sexual harassment made to those two female employees. Without going through the procedure, formalities, issue him the complaint, to reply in 10 days, carry out investigation, nothing. The last thing which has to be done at the last, after having been proved, they did the first thing. They temporarily suspended him from the job. Same morning, he committed suicide the same evening by hanging himself. Just he couldn't
Excuse
even
me, sir.
when he was
Sir,
temporarily
sorry
just on
Sir,
the
sorry
Mary wife.
to interrupt in between, but the screen is not visible, sir. Your
Screen is-
presentation, yeah. I mean, the screen is visible,
No,
but the content is not there.
not
This slide.
only visible, you mean say?
Yeah, it's
Now
fine.
it's
It
visible?
was fine.
It's fine. Now
It's still
you-
not the content. No, sir. The content isn't still there. It is there, sir. It's fine.
Any tool would be useless
Yes,
if
sir.
the person operating is unaware of the way it is to be used. The sexual harassment of women at workplace as a tool has made it mandatory via its section 19C for all employers to organize training workshops and awareness programs at regular intervals for sensitizing all their employees and also educating the ICC members. Today's MDP, sorry, 1 minute. Today's MDP proposes to fulfill the purpose by discussing the issues and implications of sexual harassment in a very practical and realistic manner, find solutions, and to highlight the salient provisions of the law along with statutory compliances and consequences of their non-compliance. So far, so good. Everybody is with me. Evolution of
Yes,
the
sir.
law on workplace sexual harassment. The elimination
Yes, sir.
of gender-based discrimination has been one of the fundamentals of the constitutional edifice of India. The principle of gender equality is enshrined in the Constitution in its preamble, fundamental rights, duties, and directive principles. However, workplace sexual harassment in India was for the very first time recognized by the Supreme Court of India in its landmark judgment of Vishakha versus State of Rajasthan in August 1997. What had happened was in 1992, 1 minute, let me just close the black thing. Yeah. In 1992, Bhamri Devi, a Dalit woman employed with the Rural Development Program of the Government of Rajasthan, was brutally gang raped by 5 Gujars who were the headmen of that village on account of her efforts to curb the then prevailing child marriage practice. 1-year-old boys and girls, in fact, they were 9 months old, they were trying to be married. The Gujars wanted the marriage to be solemnized. This lady, doing her job, duty, officially, tried to intervene. She reported the matter to her superiors. Superiors sent the police force. Police was able to temporarily stop for a couple of hours. At 2 o'clock at night, when everything was quiet, they did the marriage. And they wanted to take a revenge from Bhamri Devi for interfering in their solemnizing the marriage. This is the lady Bhamri Devi. I saw her in a video a few days back. Even today, she looks the same, though she has become a little older. She's a Dalit woman, low caste woman. She belongs to a Kumar family. They call it Prajapati in Rajasthan. She is from Bhateri village in Rajasthan. She is the winner of Mirja Banot Memorial Award for her extraordinary courage, conviction, and commitment. Her story is Bhamri Devi continues to be ostracized by her village. She lives on the outskirts of the village Bhateri, 55 kilometers from Jaipur, with her husband Sohan Lal, who has supported her in her fight throughout from 95 onwards till today. She works for an NGO and runs her team to control the same rural programs and other things, whatever are given to her. Under the strong influence of the Gujar community, none of the Rajasthan state police, medical authorities, or judiciary cooperated with Bhamri Devi, and she lost her case in High Court in 1995. Imagine, she and her husband were working in the field around 6:30 in the evening. Those 5 Gujars, just to take their revenge, came there with a brick. They hit the head of her husband, Sohan Lal. He became unconscious. And after that, in the same field there, about 6:37, 5 of them taken their turn and raped her. When little later he became conscious, they went to the local police station. Local police station said, you go back to Jaipur police station. No other police station will entertain your FIR because it's a legal medical case. Medical authorities have to intervene. Under the influence of a Gujar MLA, the police, the medical authorities, and judiciary, everybody behaved very badly with her. Can you imagine at 1 o'clock at night in Jaipur police station, when she was lodging the FIR, police people said, you have to remove your ghagra and deposit it here so that we could investigate to the medical people whether you have been really raped this evening or not. Sohan Lal removed his turban and gave it to her to wrap around her and gave that ghagra. The ghagra was changed, and investigation later revealed from the Swai Man Singh Government Hospital, Jaipur, which is the biggest hospital in Rajasthan, that the 5 people who have raped her, not the one which she has named, some other 5 people have raped her. Police didn't cooperate. Medical authorities didn't cooperate. The High Court didn't cooperate, and in 1995, she lost her case. That was not the end. There are certain other people who are watching all this, who can't tolerate this sort of nonsense, and they will come for a rescue. The incident revealed the hazards that working women were exposed to on a day-to-day basis and highlighted the urgency for safeguard to be implemented in this regard. Championing her cause of working women in the country, women's rights activists and 2 lawyers filed a PIL, it is known as Public Interest Litigation, in the Supreme Court of India under the banner of Vishakha. Vishakha is an NGO. Vishakha taken the lead. That NGO, few lawyers said that they will file a public interest litigation. Whether she has lost or won the case, immaterial. They said it is something which is very hazardous for working women. We will fight it in the Supreme Court and take a ruling that whatever has happened is not really correct happening. The Supreme Court for the first time acknowledged this glaring legislative inadequacy and acknowledged workplace sexual harassment as a human rights violation. In framing the Vishakha guidelines, the Supreme Court placed reliance on the Convention on elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. This was adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations in the 1979, and India had both signed and ratified this. Once you have signed and ratified, you have to honor it. That's why this Vishakha guidelines was given by them. As per this Vishakha judgment, until such time a legislative framework on the subject has been drawn up and enacted, the Vishakha guideline issued under Article 32 of the Constitution would have the same effect under Article 141. Article 32 speaks a constitutional, something is wrong in the Constitution. Sexual harassment is not any offense in the Constitution. Under Article 32, they said now it will be from today onwards. Under Article 141 says, till such time the government passes an act, which the government did it, PoSH Act in 2013, whatever Vishakha guidelines were there, that is just a law to be followed by all state government judiciary.
So you can unmute yourself.
So request you to kindly unmute yourself. Thank you, sir.
You can hear me? Now you can hear me. As per the Vishakha judgment, sexual harassment includes such unwelcome sexually determined behavior, whether directly or by implication, as physical contact and advances, a demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remark, showing pornography, any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal. The same thing in a diagrammatic way is shown here. The judgment of August 1997, that is Vishakha judgment, it gave the definition of sexual harassment at the workplace and provided guidelines to deal with it. It was seen as a significant legal victory for women group in India. It established that sexual harassment violates a woman's right in the workplace and is thus not just a matter of personal injury. Post Vishakha, some other two judgments. Now, there are two judgments after Vishakha which came. The first one is April Export Promotion Council versus A.K. Chopra. Export Promotion Council office is in Delhi and A.K. Chopra was the CEO of that organization. This gentleman had called his stenotypist in the evening at Lodi Hotel, which is a five-star hotel in Delhi, at about 8 o'clock to take a dictation from him. She refused to come at that odd hour and she did not come. As a result, he taken it as an offense and he started harassing her in the office for various things. As a result, she was dismissed from service. The organization taken cognizance of it and they thrown out A.K. Chopra for sexually harassing her. Supreme Court, High Court Delhi gave a ruling that A.K. Chopra has been rightly thrown out. A.K. Chopra went to the Supreme Court against it. He says, hey, I have not physically touched her. I have not physically done it. All I said was come and take a dictation from me at 8 o'clock in a five-star hotel. And she didn't come. That's the end of it. There I have harassed it. But subsequent harassment, mentally torturing her and so on, was something which was not acceptable to the Supreme Court. They say it is sexual harassment only. As a result, Supreme Court said physical touch is not necessary in sexually harassing. You can otherwise also mentally harass anybody. The Supreme Court explained in their judgment that sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination projected through unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct with sexual overtones. whether directly or by implication, particularly when submission to or rejection of such conduct by the female employee was capable of being used for attracting the employment of the female employee and unreasonably interfering with her work performance and had the effect of creating an intimidating or hostile work environment for her. Second case was Medha Kotwal Lele and others versus Union of India. Medha Kotwal Lele is the founder of an NGO called as Alochana. She just wrote a letter to the court that Vishaka guidelines were not being effectively implemented by the organization, companies, schools, colleges, institutions. Nobody is taking it seriously. Supreme Court converted that small little letter into a proper writ petition, and they've taken a cognizance of it, and they made a ruling that this is as good as a law. It will be implemented by all state government, central government, everybody. Disobeying of this Vishaka guideline will be taken as a serious offense. This is how Medha Kotwal Lele's letter got this more effectively on the firm ground. Not being satisfied the implementation of the Vishaka guideline, Supreme Court directed all state government to put in place sufficient mechanism to ensure effective implementation of the Vishaka guideline. Finally, the Supreme Court asserted that in the case of non-compliance or non-adherence of the Vishaka guidelines, it would be open to the aggrieved persons to approach the respective high courts. Vishaka guidelines and the two judgments given, the net impression about sexual harassment is not a woman's thing. It is not a passing fad. Fad means it's not a sanak, it is not a mano lahiri. It's not something to joke about. It's not something to just ignore. It's a cause of fear and paranoia. Paranoia means mental disorder caused by false belief. It's a legal requirement to prevent, prohibit, and redress workplace sexual harassment. Vishaka guidelines, the same thing is given in a chart form. Employers are responsible to prevent or deter sexual harassment, set up processes to resolve, settle, or prosecute. Sexual harassment complaint addresses must be in a time-bound manner. It must provide a complaint mechanism, and complaints committee, special counselor, other support services must be provided by the employer. Sensitize female employees to their rights. Same thing in a written form. Anti-sexual harassment law guidelines has existed prior to that. Only the Indian Penal Code, few sections were there before that. And preamble of the Constitution, which says guarantee dignity to all citizens, treats both men and women as equal, assure justice in all spheres of life, guarantees equality of status and opportunity. The common signs of gender inequality noticed were difference in pay for men and women doing the same type of work. Every organization, every company find ways and means to circumvent this requirement. I want to share with you, I was plant head of Hamdard factory, Ghaziabad. There is a minimum wages laid down by Uttar Pradesh government. It's a labor law. Gents are given that pay, whatever is minimum compulsory required. About 40 odd ladies come there with their chaj from their house. They clean saunf, ajwain, kishmish, chuhare, khaskhas, and other things, and they are paid on kg basis. If a man earns 200 rupees in one day, 8 hours, the woman earns hardly 60, 70 rupees. This is the way people circumvent the whole constitution order. Women are not allowed full and equal participation in the workforce. Dissuading men for helping out in household chores, provided limited access to occupation and industries on the basis of gender, discrimination, providing different levels of education to boys and girls. Indian constitutional provisions. I have been talking of Article 14, 15, and 21 so far. Article 14 talks about equality. It provides that the state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the law in the territory of India. Article 15 is a fundamental right. It prohibits discrimination by state against any citizen on grounds only of religion, caste, race, sex, and place of birth. Article 19(1)(g), though we haven't talked about it so far, all citizens shall have the right to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. Article 21 is the most important one, right to life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to a procedure established by law. This is the heart of the whole Constitution, Article 21, most important. Two more articles are there. Out of them, one of them is important, is Article 42, that is to give maternity leave to women, and remaining are there, but they are not all that important, except that crèche and other things should be there where working women have small children. Legal provisions available for working women before the amendment in 2013 came. These were the sections. Indian Penal Code, Section 354, it prescribed penalty of imprisonment of either description up to 2 years or fine or both for assault or use of criminal force on a woman with intent to outrage her modesty. Note the word, it's only up to 2 years or fine or both. How much is the enhanced one? We'll see little later. With the intent to outrage her modesty, all it means is स्त्री की लज्जा और गरिमा को ठेस पहुंचाने के ऊपर 2 साल तक का कारावास या फाइन या दोनों हो सकते. Section 509, it prescribes penalty of simple imprisonment only up to 1 year or fine or both for word, gesture, or act intended to insult the modesty of a woman. Section 354 was actually insulting. Here it is saying something which insult the modesty of a woman up to 1 year. Section 294 prescribes penalty of 3 months or fine or both whoever to the annoyance of other does any obscene act in any public place, sings, recites, or utters any obscene song, uses double meaning words, and so on, so forth in the presence of women and so on. This is the fine. Section 375 of the Indian Penal Code, it defines rape. The punishment for rape is under 376. It said that for rape, it will be not less than 10 years of imprisonment. If the victim dies after the rape, like Nirbhay had died in Singapore, then it is not less than 20 years, or it may even extend to the whole life. That's what the punishment was at that point of time before the 2013 Act. The Factory Act 1948, all of you are aware, you have all studied in HR, that women can't work from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., Section 66, right? Children below 6 years of age will be, crèche will be provided for use of children below 6 years of age. Toilets for washing should be separate for men and women. No woman should work more than 9 hours in a factory on one particular day. They will not be employed on dangerous nature of manufacturing processes. These are all the Factory Acts. Maternity Benefit Act, all are aware. Earlier it used to be 12 weeks, which has now been enhanced to 24 weeks of maternity leave. In case of miscarriage, also some leave is there. Equal Remuneration Act was also there, that they will be paid equal remuneration for equal type of work and given complete chances of promotion, training, transfer, everything without any discrimination with manpower. All these acts just tell us one thing, that there is inadequacy of the existing provisions. None of these provisions target sexual harassment improper directly. They are either too general, too indirect, or too vague. Unlike some of the advanced countries, the issue does not form part of the labor legislation. Sexual harassment cannot be Industrial Dispute Act 1947, nor it can be a misconduct under Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946, until recently when it has been declared as a misconduct under standing order. Companies have been told that sexual harassment should be included in their standing order as a misconduct, and punishment for misconduct in that standing order should be defined. It's also not a formal grievance and covered under formal grievance redressal, for the trade union also do not take it seriously, and it doesn't form part of their agenda either in collective bargaining agreements or while raising individual disputes. The victim of sexual harassment at work are left at the mercy of general litigation, which has its own traumas. It takes years and years, enough humiliation and so on, which many women cannot do it. The causes of the sexual harassment, what are the causes? It's the flawed upbringing, that is imperfect upbringing right from birth onwards. There is a lack of value system in the family. The viewpoint with which they have grown up, that's how they get involved in sexual harassment. They want to get a false sense of power. They feel threatened when women do well in their career, and as a result of it, this type of thing, the retaliation start in sexually harassing them. Lacks attitude of the organization towards women. It's a man's word, 7 sexual harassment cases that rocked India. I'm going to share with you, just to keep your interest alive, 7 cases which have rocked India. They are self-explanatory, slide is complete. I request you to kindly read one by one. This was the first case which was handled by Supreme Court in 2006. Ganesh Murthy. Second case. Third case, Gopal Kanda. Fourth case, Ashok Kumar Ganguly. Late Rajinder Kumar Pachori, fifth case. Kuldeep Singh Sengar, ex-BJP MLA from Unnao. And the 7th and the last case is Delhi gang rape case of Nirbhaya in December 2012. All of you may be remembering it. This girl was traveling in a bus with her friend, and 6 people in the bus raped her, thrown her in a semi-naked condition, tried to kill her friend, but did not succeed. She was shifted to Singapore for better treatment, but over there on 29 December, she breathed her last. This is the case which has hastened up the complete thing. It is this case because of which probably the PoSH Act 2013 came in within a matter of few months after her death. Otherwise, government passed Vishakha guidelines in 97 till 2012. Judiciary, government, lawmakers, everybody was just having a nice, cushy time, not bothered about the urgency of the whole thing. It's this case which has hastened up everything. A lot of protests all over India and abroad were there against this case. I will not talk much about it. All the people, Ram Singh driver had committed suicide in the jail. One was below 18, Muhammad Afroz. He was given 3 years in a reformity, which he completed. And remaining 4 have been hanged till death in Tihar jail on 20th March 20. Delhi gang rape case of Nirbhay. In December 2012, it took place. Government appointed judicial committee headed by late Shri J.S. Verma, a former Chief Justice of Supreme Court, who had given the Vishakha judgment. Same man did all this. He invited comments from people. 80,000 suggestions were received before this act has come into being. He has tried to incorporate people's suggestions as well, and he has highlighted it's totally delays, totally due to the failure on the part of the government and the police. They are at the root cause behind all these increasing crimes against women. The committee suggested certain amendment to the laws which got approval of the president. The Criminal Law Amendment Act also was passed in 2013 by President Pranab Mukherjee. We'll see those laws a little later. Critics argue that legal system remains still slow to hear and prosecute rape cases, but most agree that Nirbhay case has resulted in a tremendous increase in the public discussion of crimes against women, and statistics show that there has been an increase in the number of women willing to file a crime report. Advent of the law, this is how the law came in. It was there already, slowly moving, just dragging. It is only after December 2012, the whole thing got hastened up. And though the law was passed in April 2013, but 6 months cooling down time has to be given so that in case there is any observation from anybody, it is taken into account. And after 6 months, in December 2013, 9 December 2013, it became a law, PoSH Act, which we are going to study. I come to section 2, basics. Preamble, you all know, it was in the Indian Constitution, Article 14, 15, 21, we have all talked about. Prevention, prohibition, redressal definitions are there, maybe for students and all others understand it, what is prevention, what is prohibition, and what is redressal. Reasons for this act: a safe workplace for every woman's right, prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace, that is its purpose, responsible for providing protection against sexual harassment, its employer responsibility, putting into place a redressal mechanism for complaints related to sexual harassment. Salient feature of the PoSH Act: it's the responsibility of every employer to create an employment free from sexual harassment, creation of redressal mechanism in the form of internal complaint committee called as ICC and local complaint committee called as LCC. Inquiry must complete within 90 days, and if you have any problem, then representation must go within 60 days. Whatever ICC has given you the verdict finding, this must be obeyed within 60 days. Within 60 days, and if they want to represent against it, that also within 60 days. We should see more in the timelines and so on. According to FICCI and Ernst & Young November 2015 report, 36% of the Indian companies and 25% among the MNCs are non-compliant with the Sexual Harassment Act 2013. Government keeps trying its best, but people are not scared. They are ready to pay 50,000 fine instead of complying with all the provisions. Some of the statistics conducted by a survey called Garima in which 78% women participated. Women had faced sexual harassment, 38%. Targets of online harassment, which is happening these days in virtual mode, 50.7%. 68.9%, that is nearly 70% women refrain from making a complaint. They have patience, they tolerate it, and they like to remain quiet. Few definitions as given in this are this, which we are going to see one by one. What is an aggrieved woman, workplace, employee, employer, sexual harassment, respondent, unwelcome, prevention of sexual harassment. Aggrieved woman, you can just see on the screen, everybody knows what is an aggrieved woman. Section 2A of the Act defines the aggrieved woman. Workplace, organized sector and unorganized sector. In the public sector, department, organization, undertaking, establishment, enterprise, institution, office, branch, unit. Any hospital or nursing home. Any place visited by the employees during the employment, including transportation from your home to your workplace, is a workplace. Something happens in traveling in the company bus or college bus, it is a workplace. In the private sector, all undertaking, enterprises, institution, establishment, society, trust, non-government organization, unit or service provider. Any sport institution, stadium, sport complexes, competition of game, gym, other such things. Any dwelling place where maids are working in the house, they are all private. Hello? Workplace, unorganized sector. Well, unorganized sector is anyone which is producer of goods, seller of goods, service provider, any enterprise that employ work people less than 10. In a shop, there are 8 people, it's an unorganized sector. LCC will look after them. If there are more than 10, ICC of the organization should look after them. Workplace, same thing which I have shown you in those 2 slides, this is all listed here. Something more, which is workplace extended, office parties, off-site visits, like you take the student for a factory visit, something happens there, they are very much on the workplace. Outbound trainings, client meetings, training sessions, travel for office purposes, any place where one visits in the course of duties due to employment. The case of that sexual harassment because of this thing, she was at the place of work. She had gone to stop the marriage in the village of Gujar community. She was on a workplace. Employee, everybody understand what is an employee, but section 2F specifically defines it. It's here on your screen. Employee covered under the PoSH are any regular, temporary, ad hoc or daily wages. Persons who are working on a voluntary basis, includes contractual workers, probationers and trainees. Employer. Employer means in relation to any department, organization, undertaking, establishment, enterprise, institution, office, branch or unit of the appropriate government or a local authority, the head of that department, organization, undertaking, establishment, enterprise, institution, office, branch or unit or such other officer as the appropriate government or the local authority as the case may be by an order specifying in this behalf. In any workplace not covered under subclause 1, any person responsible for the management, supervision and control of the workplace. Now, certain companies have got places, office, various places. Like I'll give you the example of NSIC, where I conducted this training workshop on this subject a couple of months back. They are having office at Okra, but there are more than 10 people working in an office at Noida, another 10 at Narayana, another 15 at Gurgaon, another 20 in Vasant Kunj. All these places are independent places having 10 or more employees. As many number of places existing where more than 10 people are there, those many number of ICCs will have to be formed. That is what the implication of employer is. If tomorrow GL Bajaj opens a small evening classes program at, let's say, in Delhi, and where more than 10 employees are there, GL Bajaj at Greater Noida will have separate ICC. Its institution where evening classes are being conducted part-time in Delhi will have a separate ICC. That is what the implication of the whole thing is. In relation to a dwelling place or house, a person or a household who employs or benefits from the employment of domestic worker, irrespective of the number, time period, or type of such worker employed, or the nature of the employment or activity performed by the domestic worker. Behavior qualifying as a sexual harassment. This is taken from the same guidelines given in Visakha. Sexual harassment behavior is physical contact, a demand or request for sexual favors, sexually colored remarks, showing pornography, any other unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, which may be of physical, verbal, or non-verbal nature. Behavior circumstances considered as sexual harassment. Unwelcome touching, hugging or kissing, staring or leering, suggestive comments or jokes, unwanted or persistent requests to go out together, intrusive thrusting, coming without invitation, question about other person's private life or body, and so on. They are all behavior which are considered as sexual harassment. Use of double meaning words, repeatedly staring at a woman's body parts, making her feel uncomfortable, forcing female subordinate to accept expensive gifts without any valid reason which she finds embarrassing, insults or taunts of sexual nature, sexually explicit pictures, posters, screensavers, email, SMSs, instant messages, accessing sexually explicit internet sites, inappropriate advances on social network sites, implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in employment, behavior which would also be an offense under the criminal law, such as physical assault, indecent exposure, molestation, sexual assault, stalking, voyeurism, and so on. This is in a diagram shown the same thing. Respondent means a person against whom the aggrieved woman has made a complaint under Section 9 of the Act. And unwelcome means any conduct or behavior is unwelcome if the recipient doesn't consent to it. She regards it as an offensive. Even if the victim does not complain, it doesn't necessarily imply that the conduct is welcome. Some comments or advances are blatant, tastefully conspicuous and crude, and inherently offensive. These all will become unwelcome. This is the list of what is unwelcome and what is welcome. Example of unwelcome conduct of physical nature. The diagram is self-explanatory. What is unwelcome conduct, you can imagine. Another picture. This is the picture which you have seen in your flyer. Section 3(1) of the Act says no woman shall be subjected to sexual harassment at any workplace. Section 3(2) of the Act says following circumstances, among other circumstances, if these occur or are present in relation to or connected with any act of behavior of sexual harassment, they may amount to sexual harassment. Implied or explicit promise of preferential treatment in her employment, implied or explicit threat of detrimental treatment in her employment, implied or explicit threat about her present or future employment status, interfering with her work or creating an intimidating or offensive. Yeah. There are two forms or categories of sexual harassment. One is known as quid pro quo and other is known as hostile environment. It's very, very important to understand the difference between the two. With the two examples for each type, I will make it absolutely clear to you. You will have no doubts left. First, let's see quid pro quo. Quid pro quo is a Latin word which means this or that. Doing a favor or providing advantage to someone in return to something. It occurs when anyone in authority offers to provide some favor like a salary raise in return for satisfaction of a sexual demand. It occurs if the manager promises not to fire or punish an employee for her wrongdoing. In case of a job applicant being told that the decision to hire her depends on the acceptance or rejection of sexual advances. This type of harassment is called quid pro quo. Quid pro quo form of workplace sexual harassment. This is the two examples which I have shown. Read this, then you will understand absolutely what is quid pro quo. Right. Another example, scenario 2, different example of quid pro quo. Right. Next example. Second type of sexual harassment is called as hostile working environment sexual harassment. Employee is subject to physical, verbal, or non-verbal conduct. It is uninvited and unwelcome. It can be created by a co-worker or boss. Environment that does not provide an employee with a favorable condition to carry out his or her duties, generally related to the gender of the person being harassed and interferes with the ability of the person to do his or her job. Hostile working environment. This is two example. This is scene 1, example 1. Just read it. Another example, hostile work environment. I hope this makes it amply clear what are the two forms of harassment, quid pro quo, and hostile working environment. Now we come to classification of harassing behavior. It can be 4 different ways. It could be physical, visual, verbal, written oblique, non-verbal. Each type are listed here on the slide. These are the physical and verbal. Just read through it. Non-verbal and visual are on the next slide. Some pictures depicting some instances of sexual harassment, just to have a 2 minutes break type of thing. I have just shown you a few pictures which will make you amply clear what is sexual harassment. Sexual advances, jokes causing or likely to cause awkwardness or embarrassment, aspersions and taunts, unwelcome sexual overtones in any manner, touching or brushing against any part of the body and the life, displaying pornographic or other offensive or derogatory pictures, cartoons, pamphlets, or sayings. Possible physical touch or molestation. Physical confinement against one's will and any other act likely to violate one's privacy. Abuse of authority or power. Gender-based insults or sexist remarks. In this slide, in a nutshell, in a summary form, I have listed everything which we have covered so far. What are the visual, verbal, written, touching, power, force, offensive conduct may be a violation, demands, and so on. Key elements of workplace sexual harassment. Some of the key elements are given on the slide: criticizing, insulting, blaming, reprimanding, or condemning an employee in public, exclusion from group activities or assignment without sufficient reason, making damaging statements to tarnish a person's reputation or damaging career, removing areas of responsibility unjustifiably, inappropriately giving too little or too much of work, insults or humiliation, repeated attempts to exclude or isolate a person, systematically interfering with normal work conditions, sabotaging places or instruments of work, humiliating, arbitrarily taking disciplinary action against an employee, controlling the person by withholding resources. You withdraw budget, don't give autonomy, don't allow them to take part in training, don't give sufficient time to complete a work. This is all the way of harassing. Overruling authority without just cause. Unjustifiably monitoring everything that is done. Blaming an individual constantly for errors without just cause. Repeatedly singling out an employee by assigning her with demeaning and belittling jobs that are not part of her duty. Workplace sexual harassment typically involves acts of which the victim has reasonable apprehension that they are humiliating, unsafe, unhealthy, discriminatory, career limiting, other ways. In short, workplace sexual harassment is when the behavior is unwelcome. It's sexual in nature. It is a subjective experience. You all understand, I hope, what is subjective experience. Some lady may not like somebody trying to shake hand when she doesn't want to shake hand at all. She is very happy with Namaste ji. But somebody will say, Are Namaste ji, 50 saal pehle bolte the. Nowadays it is big handshake. It's a subjective experience. Impact, not the intent, matters. Often it occurs in a matrix of power. When two people are working, one is controlling the other one. He has got more power like supervisor of somebody or like head of the department of an institution or something, it will always happen in a matrix of power most of the time. People harass others to express dominance or power, organizationally or socially control someone, attempt to seek peer approval, use it as a bullying tactic. Harassment exists when it becomes a term or condition of employment. This could be at the time of hiring or firing or giving promotion. It affects decision about an employee, who gets good assignment, who travels, who gets trained, who gets overtime, who gets what is in the performance appraisal. It unreasonably interferes with a person's job performance. It creates a work environment that is intimidating, that is offensive. Impact of sexual harassment on individual. There are 4 types of impact: psychological suffering, behavioral change, professional losses, stress-related illness. Some 2 things which I could fit on the slide are here. Otherwise, in a more detailed form, the same thing is written here. Impact of sexual harassment on organization. There will be low productivity because of lack of trust between team members, absence of motivation, low attendance, higher attrition rate. Lack of progress and innovation. Employees do not trust each other. Employees do not trust the employer. Loss of goodwill for the organization. Applicants do not apply for jobs in such companies. Sexual harassment is not a criminal offense. Amended key offenses under the Indian Penal Code. The old one which I had shown you, some of them have been amended. Some new sections have been added. Section 354, outraging the modesty of a woman. There it was 2 years. Now it is extended to 5 years and fine. It has become a cognizable offense, which means that the police officer who has been approached with the complaint of sexual harassment has to perforce register the crime. He can't refuse, I will not write the FIR. Though it's a bailable in nature, that is, the accused cannot be arrested without the permission of the magistrate. Section 354 A, B, C, D, 4 sections have been added. Earlier it was only 354, now it is 354, 354 A, B, C, D. It is 354A talks about physical contact and advances involving unwelcome and explicit sexual overtone, demand or request for sexual favor, showing pornography against the will of the woman, making sexually colored remarks. The punishment for serial 1, 2, 3 here is 3 years or with fine or both. And punishment for 4th one, making sexually colored remarks, is 1 year. Section 354B, assault or use of criminal force to women with intent to disrobe. ये नया सेक्शन आया जो पहले नहीं था. अगर कोई भी मनुष्य स्त्री को नग्न करने की कोशिश करता है, उसको मजबूर करता है, तो उसके लिए 7 years imprisonment and fine. This section was not there earlier. Section 354C is voyeurism. Voyeurism means to do the surveillance, किसी का पीछा करना. Whatever one is doing, कैमरा लगा दो, उसकी पूरे 24 घंटे की एक्टिविटीज नोट करते हो, and so on so forth. This is called voyeurism. On its first conviction, the punishment is 3 years. On the second and subsequent conviction, the term increases from 3 years to longer period, which as shown on the slide. Another section is stalking. Correction. I am sorry. I have mixed up. Voyeurism is to see somebody in a private act and enjoy the sexual pleasure of seeing somebody. Let's say a lady is changing her clothes, she is without her undergarment. Somebody through the keyhole starts looking at her. This example will make you understand what is voyeurism. Stalking is पीछा करना, surveillance करना, which I had mentioned wrongly over there. It is has become an offense. You can't carry out surveillance of somebody. You can't follow them for some purpose which you don't have any business to follow. In the first conviction, it is 3 years and a fine. Second or subsequent conviction is 5 years and fine. It's also a cognizable offense. And section 509, insulting the modesty of a woman. This was earlier also there. Over there, the punishment was just 1 year. This has now been increased to 3 years. Civil remedy under the PoSH, criminal remedy under the IPC. 5 things every woman must know at the workplace. We'll just quickly see through it, and then we'll have 10 minutes break. First thing is you are covered under the Act if you are an employee, part-time, full-time, or an intern, contractual employee, or domestic worker. Recognizing sexual harassment. You have to first recognize is the sexual harassment or not, and after that proceed. You must know when and where to complain. It is your internal complaint committee of your organization, and in case there are less than 10 people in the organization, especially in unorganized sector, it is the local complaint committee of the district where you have to lodge a complaint. You can request for leave or your respondent transfer to a different branch. Up to 3 months leave in addition to your entitled leave you can avail if you are sexually harassed, or you can ask yours or your respondent who has harassed you is transferred to a different branch. The ICC or LCC can recommend deduction of salary of the accused if offence is proved. Salary will be deducted or some fine will be imposed which will be recovered by the state government and paid to the victim. These 5 things must know. Here we come to the end. Deepa ma'am, can we have 10 minutes break? Hello.
Sorry, sir. Meanwhile,
No,
participants will be given a query form, sir. So if they have any query in their mind, if they really want suggestion or advice from you on any issue, they can share that issue with us.
Yeah, I am online available. No problem.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll collect the information, we'll collect the query, and we'll discuss later on after the session.
We'll continue section 3 in
Yes.
1.5
I
hours.
request the team members to share the query form to the participants. Dear participants, please share your queries, write your queries in detail if you really want to have any kind of advice or the advocacy from sir. Then sir is available and sir has given his consent to all of us that he will help us in each and every case. We would like to resolve your queries by today evening only. If any query is left, then we will try to resolve the query by tomorrow. And that is why we are taking your email ID on the query form. We would love to send you the solutions and the suggestions by tomorrow. All right, I can see in the chat box there are some queries coming up. All right, to finish, what we'll do is sir is on break for the 5 to 6 minutes, and afterwards we'll share all these queries to sir, and we'll take the query question and answer session in the end of this MDP program, almost around 4:30 p.m. I request all the participants to stay on because sir is going to join us within a few moments. Meanwhile, I would like to once again inform you that in this MDP program, there are going to be 4 sessions. The first session is over now, and the second session is going to start within a few minutes. And after the second session, we will be taking the attendance part. So that will be pre-lunch attendance form. It is in a form of feedback form. So I request all of you to kindly fill the feedback form sincerely. And after the second session, from 1 to 2, we would be having the lunch break. And 2 o'clock, I request all the participants to once again rejoin us on the same, with the help of same link. And we'll be starting our third and fourth part of the MDP program. I'm so happy to see that a lot many queries are coming up. Sushant, we would love to take your query and we'll discuss this fundamental concept during the MDP program. Somebody is asking for the feedback form. Dear participants, please wait at 1 p.m. We'll be sharing a feedback form at 1 p.m. But meanwhile, our team members are taking it in. I can see Dr. Desai has joined us. So sir is asking the query. Yes, very pertinent question. So surely we are going to discuss these queries with sir. Dr. Desai, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, the screen that is visible to me right now is login page for WebEx. So please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, there's some problem. I'm not able to join in.
Sir, you are in the meeting, sir.
Screen share नहीं हो रहा मेरे से तो.
Sir, screen share, your screen is visible to me. I can see join the meeting number and link.
हाँ, वो लिखना पड़ेगा ये सारा कुछ ना.
Okay, sir, I'll just stop your screen once and you share again. So you can try sharing again.
नहीं.
So I would request you first open that presentation on your desktop.
Trying to do that. हो नहीं रहा मेरे से. एक मिनट. पहले ये तो close करना पड़ेगा. Mute क्या क्या आ रहा है. What had happened was in the morning, my number one laptop on which we had carried out the trial was not getting
Yes, sir.
connection at all. So I used my discarded old hand laptop in the morning. Now I have been able to connect it. That's why I've changed the laptop. That's why the problem is coming.
No problem. So we'll wait for a moment. So meanwhile, you can start. First, you open your PPT, and
Ma'am,
afterwards,
I guess sir has left. We'll have to wait for a moment.
all right. So dear participants, please stay on with us. Just cooperate with us. Sir is having a technical glitch. And meanwhile, I request for any of the participants who would like to share something related to the PoSH app or some kind of environment. For example, I can see Dr. Sai with us. I can see Dr. Sukila Hana and Dr. Lakshmi from different institutions. I can see lots of academicians. So anybody would like to share their experience or their thought process, they would like to throw some light on this very pertinent topic, they can share with us. Kindly raise your hand and then we'll unmute you. Let Dr. Kopila, she has raised the hand. I request Shruti to kindly.
Ma'am, sir is back in the meeting.
Sir is back, yes. All right. So Dr. Kopila, we'll just wait for a moment.
Sir, now your screen is visible. Yes, sir, perfectly visible. Sir, please unmute yourself. Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Yes, sir has unmuted himself.
The share screen is paused.
Honorable sir, now your screen is visible and we can hear you also.
can hear me also now.
Yes, sir.
Just a minute, let me reach where I had stopped it.
All right.
This is a new laptop which just purchased 2 months back. This is the one which was used for trial day for yesterday. And it didn't have internet connection in the morning. I don't know what was the problem. Now it has.
No worries.
Now it has. We were here, we are about to read. Yeah.
So the screen visible to us is the very starting screen that you had, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act.
Now you can see it?
Sir, I can,
Yes, first slide of your
first
presentation.
slide is, yes.
The employer shall create a workplace free of sexual harassment written on the screen. Is it visible?
No, sir, that screen is not visible to me.
Not
So you
visible.
can, sir, I'll stop sharing once. I'll stop your sharing and you share once again. You try and share once again.
Right.
So you can try now.
This is visible.
Sir, I can see the PowerPoint. Yes, sir,
Yes,
section 3. Now it is visible.
Now what can you read?
So
Yes,
section
sir. Now-
3, prevention and prohibition.
Bus, that's the one.
Wonderful.
That is the one. Right. Now I have to only close these pictures coming of all of us on the top so that you are able to see that. Section 3, prevention, prohibition. Now you can see
Yes, sir.
So clearly visible.
it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Right. Sorry for the delay in starting. My fault. I beg to be apologized. Prevention and prohibition now is our next section. The employer shall create a workplace free of sexual harassment. Duties of the employer. This one is troubling me, the bottom one. How to minimize this?
So you can tell me what is the issue. I'll try to solve.
Your screen sharing. ये नीचे नहीं जाता वो
Sir,
आगे से
your complete screen is visible to me. The whole slide is visible to me. There's
But
nothing that
नीचे
you can
bottom
see.
पे मेरे पास आ जाता है 167 participant new share half-inch screen. I can't see it at the bottom. How to do that?
Sir, you can just click and drag it anywhere on the screen where you don't want it to be. Like it can be dragged.
I can drag, but everywhere something or the other is there. I don't know where to leave it. If I close it, it will not work. I'm trying to drag it at the bottom, but then it is disturbing the screen.
Sir, just for the information only, it is visible to you only, not to us.
No, it's not. It's visible to me only, not to you. I know.
Not to us. So
Achha.
no worries. So you please continue.
Okay. I'll make some alternative arrangement where I can see it. Just a minute. It's only, you can see the complete screen, duties of employer.
It's very clear. It is very clear. So these are the part and parcel of being virtually connected because you are the co-host of the meeting. So that is why all these information are being shown to you, sir. So we just ignore them.
Duties of employer under section 19 of the PoSH Act provide a safe working environment, display any conspicuous place at the workplace, the penal consequences of sexual harassment and the order constituting the ICC, organize workshops and awareness programs, provide necessary facilities to the internal complaint committee or the local committee as the case may be, assist in securing the attendance of respondent and witnesses, make available such information to the internal complaint committee, provide assistance to the woman if she so chooses to file a complaint in relation to the offense under the Indian Penal Code, cause to initiate action under the Indian Penal Code, treat sexual harassment as a misconduct, monitor the timely submission of reports. Prevention of sexual harassment by employers, other practical measures. Various practical measures I have tried to list out here, such as remove offensive, sexually explicit or pornographic calendar, literature, poster, and other such material existing at the workplace. Improve the safety of working environment by ensuring sufficient lighting, open space, offices, good balance of men, women at workplace. Establish a panel consisting of both men and women rather than just one individual who is responsible for making decisions concerning job vacancies or promotion. What happens if you don't make a panel of 2-3 people, some women in it? The man is likely to say, okay, I'll give you the job, but you keep obliging me later. That sort of thing can be curbed if you have a panel of 2-3 people with some women in it. Translate policy into relevant languages of workers and display it for reading purposes. Display a poster about zero tolerance for sexual harassment. Distribute brochures on frequently asked questions and answers on sexual harassment. Conduct survey to identify factors and situations leading to these problems. The employer shall create and communicate a detailed policy, ensure awareness and orientation on the issue, constitute internal complaint committee, ensure that the internal committee is trained in skill as well as in their capacity, prepare annual report to be submitted to the district officer and report in the director's report. It is the employer's responsibility to prevent or deter the committing of any act of sexual harassment by means of creating an appropriate working conditions, ensuring female employees are not treated as sex objects, ensuring that no male employee or third party will outrage or insult the modesty of a female colleague, ensuring that no male employee or third party will make any type of sexual advances to female colleague, establishment of a complaint committee. Employer obligation, provide a safe working environment, display at the workplace details of penal consequences of indulging in such acts, composition of the ICC, grievance redressal mechanism available to the aggrieved employee, organize workshops and MDPs about awareness program for sensitizing their employees. Organize orientation program, cooperate and assist during the course of the inquiry. Treat sexual harassment as misconduct under the service rules. Provide assistance to the aggrieved employee should she choose to file a police complaint. Initiate action under the IPC or such other applicable law. Ensure timely submission of reports to the district officer. The first step to prevention is recognition. Workplace sexual harassment is behavior that is unwelcome. Sexual nature is subjective experience. Impact, not intent, is what matters. It often occurs in a matrix of power. This slide we have shared earlier also. It's a repetition over here in this next section. Recognizing sexual harassment. In most of the cases, harassment occurs in the most unexpected way. It starts with moves that appear to be innocent but ends up in unprofessional and inappropriate behavior. As a key pointer, one needs to understand that anything that appears to be sexual, unpleasant, and inappropriate, which may or may not be within one's tolerance limit, it amounts to sexual harassment. Where can workplace sexual harassment occur? It will generally occur in employee-sponsored events, in the conferences, in the office parties, off-site or during non-work hours. Prevent sexual harassment, organization roles. There are 4 roles of the organization. The rules and regulation of company must also include rules regulation prohibiting sexual harassment. Rules regarding prohibition of sexual harassment must be brought to the notice of all employees. Rules must also be circulated from time to time within the organization, just like a revision lesson. The company rules must have provision for penalties as well. Enabling work conditions should be provided with respect to work, health, hygiene. Organization must also ensure that women employees must not feel disadvantaged. Organization must ensure that the environment towards women is not hostile. When a complaint is made, the employer must take appropriate action by helping the aggrieved lodge a complaint with the appropriate authority. Employer responsibility to prohibit sexual harassment, organize workshops and awareness programs like we are having it today, create a policy prohibiting sexual harassment, must ensure a safe environment in the campus, display the sexual harassment policy in conspicuous places like on the notice boards. Key elements of sexual harassment: individual version in consonance with need and ideology, must also be in tandem with the new act and must be written in a simple language. Commitment to eradicate sexual harassment at workplace. Definition of sexual harassment, process to file a complaint, contact details of the internal complaint committee, non-disclosure of identity, and penalty for violation, and a code of conduct about it. Anti-sexual harassment policy, some tips to follow. The tips to follow are: clearly define sexual harassment and outline the scope and applicability. Mention how the employer practices zero tolerance towards sexual harassment at workplace. Extended concept of workplace. Must be written in simple language, especially highlighting complaint mechanism. Regularly distribute and promote the policy at all levels of the organization. Ensure that the policy is easily accessible. Provide a copy of the policy to new joinees as part of the induction. Most of the organization companies, what they have started doing is, in the orientation program to the new employees, they give it as a copy and they take a signature. I have received it, I have read it, and I will comply with it. Right? Developing organization policy on the prevention of sexual harassment. The content of a workplace policy on sexual harassment may include the following things. One is a clear organization statement on sexual harassment. For example, sexual harassment is prohibited here. Zero tolerance policy is there. Anyone found guilty of sexual harassment after the investigation will be subject to disciplinary action. Key definition and examples related to sexual harassment. Reference to relevant legislation. Consequences in case of breach of policy. Responsibility of management and staff. And 6th point is adequate provision for regular and repeated training of employees at all possible levels. Details of the members of the internal complaint committee. Procedures and options available for getting help and advice, making complaints and handling cases, which can include both formal and informal procedures. Time frame for redressal of procedure. Procedure and rules for harassment by any third party, such as clients and customers who visit the organization. A clear indication that all cases of sexual harassment will be kept confidential. Very easy to say, ma'am, but everything has got to be kept confidential. Easier said than done. Somehow or the other, it breaks out. Everybody comes to know in a week's time, so-and-so has filed a complaint against so-and-so. So-and-so, the inquiry is progressing this way, that way. What will likely happen, and so on and so forth. That becomes the talk of the town. Effective safeguard to ensure that the recommendations of the committee are implemented by the management of the institution. Frequency of discussion and review of the policy. Preventive measures for employers against sexual harassment. Create a strong policy document on sexual harassment to include it in the organization standing order under the Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946. Gather feedback to evaluate and continually improve policy compliance. Include briefly sexual harassment clauses and their implications in the initial job offer letters to all the employees. Treat sexual harassment as a misconduct under the service rules and initiate action on such misconduct. Create an appropriate ICC for redress of the complaint made by the victim, whether or not such conduct constitute an offense under the law or a breach of service rule. Such complaint mechanism should ensure time-bound treatment of the complaint. Include PoSH training session in the induction program of new joinees. Appropriate work conditions should be provided in respect of work, labour, health, hygiene to further ensure that there is no hostile environment towards women at work. Respond promptly and thoroughly to any complaints of harassment, maintain confidences, and treat all sides fairly when investigating. Notify, publish, and display prominently on the notice board salient features of your policy. Organize training workshops, particularly ensure victims or witnesses are not victimized or discriminated against while dealing with the complaint on sexual harassment. Maintain a healthy balance between male and female ratio of employees. Wherever there are 2,000 people and 10 women, these things are bound to be much more than where there are 50-50. I won't say that it should be always 50-50, but at least 40-60, 30-70, some ratio must be maintained. Then only these things will remain under check. Encourage women to speak up if anything going wrong with them is ever observed. Create dedicated email ID only for registration of sexual harassment complaints. Ensure senior managers lead by example, using their own behavior towards female as a role model for all other employees. Hold regular meetings of the ICC and write reports of such meetings. Act on the recommendation of ICC within stipulated time of 60 days after submission of the inquiry report. Know that sexual harassment can have a devastating effect upon the health, confidence, morale, and performance of those affected by it. Anxiety, stress produced by sexual harassment commonly leads to those subjected to it taking time off from work due to sickness, being less efficient at work, or leaving their job to seek jobs somewhere else. Understand the reason why women remain silent about sexual harassment. In absence of complaint about sexual harassment doesn't necessarily mean an absence of sexual harassment. It may mean that the recipient of sexual harassment think there is no point in complaining here. Recognize the tangible and intangible expenses and losses the organization suffer due to such activities. Steps to prevent sexual harassment at workplace by the employees. Do not tolerate sexually toned behavior from colleagues. Be aware of one's own rights. Stop telling yourself that a specific type of behavior is inevitable on the part of men and must be tolerated. Resist any attempt of sexual harassment the first time it occurs. If you allow the action to take place without expressing your strongest disapproval, the offender will assume that he has your consent. Don't encourage male colleagues to behave unbecomingly with you or try to attract their attention. It's very important to maintain your own self-respect. Keep safe distance from the offending party. Register a first information report with the police station. Employer responsibility towards prevention of sexual harassment. Well, as much as employer is responsible, employee also has to be accountable and responsible. If employee is responsible and take all these actions, half the problem will be over. Do I consent to the expected behavior which I am getting? Does the behavior make me uncomfortable? Does the behavior violate any dignity as an individual at the workplace? Does it violate my right to work in dignity in a safe working environment? Read the policy. Does it violate the right of work in dignity in a safe working environment? Read the policy and procedure to follow and experience or observe harassment or disrespectful behavior. Seek assistance if there are any questions about the policy. Understand what constitutes harassment to ensure that their comments or actions do not inadvertently offend another co-worker. Promptly report all incidences of harassment that they are aware of or experience to whomever they are comfortable with. Speak up if a reported concern is not resolved or raise it again. If possible, keep record of dates, time, and location of all incidences of suspected harassment. Inform a trusted colleague and try to ensure that he is a witness to a situation where someone is being harassed. This will be useful later if you choose to file a formal complaint. Additional responsibility of women employees towards prevention of sexual harassment. As far as possible, avoid informal means of communication. Insist on formal email for all official work. Second point is, try and have your personal exclusive mobile number and share it with others very, very selectively. To any Tom, Dick and Harry should not have your personal number. He should have only the number which is given by the office for use in the office. Try to confine yourself official calls on official mobile and private calls on private mobile. At your workplace, never take part or laugh at inappropriate jokes, but ignore and turn a deaf ear to such non-vegetarian dirty jokes. If you start giggling and chatting and smiling, they will be encouraged and they will keep repeating it again and again and again. And one day it will turn into actual sexual harassment. Before taking up any new job offer, clarify with the management if you have any specific requirement, such as avoiding traveling job or not to sit late after office hours or periodic demand of short leave. Some of these points are added by my own actual experience. Nowhere in the books such things are given, which I'm just sharing on the screen. If you want that once in a month on the last Saturday, you have to go for parent-teacher meet of your child in the school and you need 2 hours, at the time of interview, clarify and take the blessings of the interviewer that last Saturday of month I will come 2 hours late because I am required to go for parent-teacher meeting. I hope I have your blessings. You will not feel guilty when you actually go on that Saturday. But if you haven't clarified, he is obliging you by allowing you at that time. In return of this obligation, he will expect some other obligation. With such clarification sought and management consent taken before joining, you won't be feeling guilty later on of taking any superior obligation. Such timely action will help you to maintain your dignity and self-respect at your workplace and avoid any possible sexual harassment on such short absence. Restrict your interaction to few desirable peers or superiors only. Keep your sixth sense on to identify likely problem creators and maintain proper distance from likely harassers. Don't accept any nonsense. If any undesirable or unwelcome incidents takes place with which you are not comfortable, don't hide it, but speak out and submit it in writing. Last point from my side, advice: never say yes if you want to say no. Supervisory responsibilities. Some of you may be supervisors or may be having supervisors above you. You must understand what are the supervisory responsibilities of a male supervisor who is an ideal male supervisor. He should give space as well as right platform for their women colleagues to grow. Become educated and educate employees on what sexual harassment is and what to do. Stop sexual harassment if you see it occurs or hear about it happening. Investigate any claims if they occur. Learn the best ways to interview witnesses. Keep information confidential. Treat victims with respect. An organization plan for eliminating sexual harassment. Review your behavior and that of others for evidence of illegal or impossible conduct. When such behavior is identified, ask the following question. 1. Is it the appropriate conduct or behavior in the workplace? 2. Is it legal? 3. Is it permissible? 4. Is it proper? 5. Could the behavior in any way be seen as discriminatory? 6. Could the behavior have a disruptive effect upon any employee or organization unit? Constitution of Internal Complaint Committee, important thing to understand how people constitute it, what mistake they do and so on, and what are the flaws in it. I'll try and share my thought process on it. Under Section 4, subsection 1 of the PoSH Act, every employer of a workplace shall, by an order in writing, constitute a committee to be known as Internal Complaint Committee. It's in short generally known as ICC. Provided that where the offices or administrative units of the workplace are located at different places or different divisions or subdivisional level, the Internal Complaint Committee shall be constituted at all such administrative unit or offices. Under Section 4, subsection 2 of the PoSH Act, the constitution of ICC shall be as follows. In its composition, at least 50% of the members shall be women. Any organization having 10 or more employees will have a ICC compulsory. It is not 10 women employees, total employee 10. Women may be 0, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. 10 employees, ICC is a must. The presiding officer has to be a woman working at a very senior level as an employee. Companies where I have gone, generally senior general manager, women are there heading this. In Power Grid Corporation, the senior general manager, rather chief general manager, finance department, that Vimla ji, she is the presiding officer. I met her during my 2 days presentation on this subject. And she had a lot of things to share with me. I had to share with her. We learned from each other quite a bit and shared the experiences of Power Grid Corporation, because this problem is there everywhere. GAIL has also having a similar problem these days. Not less than 2 members from amongst the employees committed to the cause of women having legal knowledge / experience in social work. And 1 more member from amongst any NGO associations committed to the cause of women or a person familiar with the issues relating to sexual harassment. Provided that in case a senior level woman employee is not available, the presiding officer shall be nominated from any other workplace of the same employer or other department or organization. Let's say an organization has got 4 companies. In one of the companies, there is no lady at all, senior lady available. In the second company or third company of the same employer, there are enough number of ladies. They can nominate a lady from the sister unit as a presiding officer for that organization which doesn't have a sufficiently senior lady. This is what paper says. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. I am a corporate trainer for Anmol Biscuit Factory, Greater Noida. The senior most lady available with them is PA to the chairman, Mrs. Renu. She is the presiding officer, having just 5-6 years of experience. How is she going to handle people with 30 years service, male people who have seen the world? How is she going to impress on them? How is she going to conduct an inquiry? It's just a name, say. It's just a name. Hanji, ICC bana diya, bana diya. Mind you, that same lady approached me 2.5 years back to take a session on sexual harassment of this, because audit objection has come to that organization. Why have you not conducted any such training program since 2013? Penalty of 50,000 rupees. That is the time they gave me a topic and I said, I'll prepare and I'll share with you whenever you want. I taken my own time to prepare, and by the time they had caught hold of somebody, taken old receipts of payment, shown 5-6 receipts, and we are doing the training since 2013. 3 bags full. Next point. The phrase person familiar with the issues relating to sexual harassment has been explained in Rule 4 of the PoSH Rules 2013 with the following deeming provisions. A social worker with at least 5 years experience in the field of social work in the area of empowerment of women and in particular sexual harassment at the workplace. B, a person familiar with labor, service, civil or criminal law. These days, young advocates having 5 to 7 years, 8 years service are available for such work because they don't get enough court cases. So as a permanent case, permanent employee, they join 4, 5, 7 organizations who keep doing such work here just to earn their livelihood. That's what the general practice is. This is a diagram of redressal of procedure mechanism. A separate office should be there, and without any disturbance in a private room, all such inquiry and other things should take place. Constitution of Local Complaint Committee. So far we talked about ICC. Now we come to LCC. PoSH Act Section 5 says nominate a district officer. Notification of a district officer. The appropriate government may notify a district magistrate or additional district magistrate or the controller or deputy collector in a district officer for every district to exercise powers or discharge functions under this Act. PoSH Act Section 6, subsection 1. Every district officer shall constitute in the district concerned a committee known as Local Complaint Committee, LCC, to receive complaint of sexual harassment from those establishments where the ICC has not been constituted due to having less than 10 workers, or if the complaint is against the employer himself. If you have a complaint against the employer or against one of the members of the ICC itself, you can't give your complaint to ICC. In that case, you have to give your complaint to the LCC. PoSH Act Section 6, subsection 2. The district officer shall designate one nodal officer in every block, taluka and tehsil, in rural or tribal areas and ward or municipality in the urban area to receive complaints and forward the same to the concerned local committee within a period of 7 days. Every district must constitute a local committee responsible for receiving complaints of sexual harassment from organization having less than 10 workers, or if the complaint is against the employer or one of the members of ICC. Also comes into play when the complaint is against the employer himself. This is the composition of the Local Complaint Committee. It is constituted by the district officer under the PoSH Act 2013, Section 7, subsection 1. The chairperson has to be eminent woman in the field of social work and committed to the cause of the woman. Member 1 has to be nominated from among the women working in the block, taluka or tahsil or ward or municipality, where that organization is located in that municipality, taluka, tahsil. 2 members, of whom at least one must be a woman, nominated from such non-government organization or association committed to the cause of women, and at least one member having law or legal knowledge, and at least one member belonging to scheduled castes or scheduled tribes or other backward classes. Ex officio member 1, the concerned officer in the district dealing with social welfare or women and child development. Tenure of ICC. ICC or LCC, same tenure, maximum 3 years from the date of nomination. The presiding officer or any other members can be removed from the committee before 3 years time period is up if publishing, communicating or making known to the public, press and media the information related to sexual harassment cases against the legal provision. Convicted for an offence under any law or undergoing an inquiry into an offence under any law. Found guilty in any disciplinary proceeding against him or her, abuse his or her position as a member of the committee. The vacancies that is created through this dismissal is filled by the fresh nomination by the employer or the district officer. Salient features of ICC/LCC. Presiding officer or chairperson and every member to hold the office for a term not exceeding 3 years from the time of nomination. ICC to be constituted for each establishment having 10 or more employees. If the establishment has branches or offices in multiple locations, each such location to have a separate ICC. LCC to also receive and handle complaints against employers of establishment having their own ICC. Functions to educate and sensitize employees about the issues, to address the complaint and conduct inquiry, to operate as a quasi-judicial body with powers to summon and enforce attendance, call for evidence and documents. Please note, ICC or LCC has the same power as a quasi-judicial body, as a magistrate. They have all the same powers to call anybody for attendance, enforce everything, to call for any evidence, to check any document, to inspect anything. Core objective of internal committee, beautiful slide with 6 objectives. First, formulate an anti-sexual harassment policy. These are the responsibilities of the internal committee of your organization, to formulate an anti-sexual harassment policy. Second, provide a mechanism for the prevention and redressal of sexual harassment cases. Third, ensure that the policy is implemented completely. Fourth, help provide an environment that is free from gender-based discrimination. Fifth, create a secure physical and sexual environment to deter acts of sexual harassment. 6, raise awareness about sexual harassment and its various forms. Same point, only thing is a 7th point has been added by me to inquire into complaints of sexual harassment at the workplace. Complaint committee, ICC or LCC, in common, both are same. What they should do, be thoroughly prepared, know the act, policy or relevant service rules, gather and record all relevant information, determine the main issues of the complaint, prepare relevant interview questions, conduct necessary interviews, ensure parties are made aware of the processes and their rights, responsibilities with it, analyze information gathered, prepare the report with finding recommendations, maintain confidentiality, be impartial, non-retaliation, and be clinical. Powers of Complaint Committee. The Complaint Committee, I'll just call it Complaint Committee, which means both ICC and LCC. Complaint Committee is a common word for both ICC and LCC. Under Section 11(3) of the PoSH Act, summoning and enforcing the attendance of any person and examining him on oath, requiring the discovery and production of any documents, any other matter which may be prescribed. Under Section 12(1) of the PoSH Act, grant such other relief to the aggrieved woman as may be prescribed. What are those relief? We are just going to cover it up a little later. Transfer the aggrieved woman or the respondent to any other workplace. Grant leave to the aggrieved woman up to a period of 3 months. It is in addition to her entitled leave. When we say grant leave to the aggrieved woman, it can, instead of granting to the woman, it can also be granted to the person who has been the victim, that is the respondent. Either of them to be given leave and separate them off for 3 months so that the things cool down. Duties and power of district officer. Under Section 20 of the PoSH Act, the district officer shall monitor the timely submission of report furnished by the local committee, take such measure as may be necessary for engaging non-government organization for creation of awareness on sexual harassment and the right of the women. The complaint committee will do the following. Just read it. Let me have water in the meantime. Right. Complaint committee responsibilities. All complaint of sexual discrimination or harassment will be treated in a serious manner as per the Act. And committee will ensure that an appropriate investigation of complaint has been conducted. No reprisal or retaliatory action is taken or tolerated against the complainant. Sensitive nature of the complaint and the respective position in the department organization of the parties are kept in mind during investigation. Fair process and principles of natural justice are followed. Principles of natural justice, by a separate slide, I'll cover up. An aid memorial for complaint committee members. A few points I have just written here. Just read through it quickly. Do's and don'ts for complaint committee members. Do's. Create an enabling meeting environment. Use body language that communicates complete attention to the parties. Treat the complainant with respect. Discard predetermined ideas. And fifth one, determine the harm. And the don'ts are, don't get aggressive. Don't insist on graphic description of the sexual harassment. Don't interrupt. And two more points, just which I can't read, you can read it on my slide. Just read that. Action against harassment can include the following things. Harassment exists when it becomes a term or condition of employment. This could be at the time of hiring, firing, promotions. It affects decisions about an employee, who gets good assignment, who travels, who gets trained, who gets overtime, and who gets what on performance appraisal. It unreasonably interferes with the personal job performance, or it creates a work environment that is intimidating, hostile, offensive. Steps to deter sexual harassment: do not ignore it, report the incidents at the earliest opportunity, do not accept that behavior, be supportive. Any associate may file complaint, not necessarily that the woman who is harassed will only file a complaint, even associate can file a complaint. What is not workplace sexual harassment? Following up on the work absences, requiring performance up to job standard. Well, people will expect performance up to the expectation laid down. That is not harassment. Reprimanding in relation to work, meeting targets or deadlines. Often in organization companies, you haven't met the deadline, boss start firing you. Don't treat that this is sexual harassment. But people do take advantage. They say, when the boss says, meet the target, otherwise I'll throw you out, there is a he is sexually harassing. Work-related stress, for example, meeting deadlines or quality standard. Touching, brushing against, pushing without a sexual connotation. Constructive feedback about the work. Women common responses to sexual harassment. Common response is just ignore it or submit it and enjoy it. Participate in it. Be internally angry. Politely but firmly confront the harasser and request him to cease the activity immediately. If harasser doesn't stop his harassing activities, act appropriately, share it with supervisor or human resources, and then lodge an official complaint. Generally, 70% of the complaints of sexual harassment remain unreported. Why don't people report? These are the reasons why don't people report. They are afraid of retaliation, think they must get into the trouble, be fired, be ridiculed by other team members. They will feel embarrassed. Don't think that people would believe them or take them seriously. Don't believe it's actually happening or dismiss it as not being serious. Unsure or don't know that it is harassment. Don't want to get the co-worker into trouble. Think they should be able to handle it on their own. Think the environment allows that type of behavior, especially sensitive to new hires, and with the passage of time, it will get settled off its own. What to do if you are encountered sexual harassment? See the picture, she's getting sexual harassed. The slogan on top says, be prepared. Stay cool, calm, and discreet. Confront the harasser and clearly state that his activity is unwelcome and should stop. Document all events, activities in a chronological order and try to take some reliable witness in your confidence. Read through the anti-sexual harassment policy of the organization and religiously follow it. Share the problem selectively with your supervisor / HR and submit written complaint to the complaint committee. In your case, ICC, in unorganized sector, we are less than 10 people to LCC. What can a victim of sexual harassment do to stay safe? I have just made a code word, self. Self, S stands for speak up. Firmly tell the harasser to stop. E, escalate the matter. Go up the ladder and inform the people concerned. That is the ICC. L, list. List everything possible. Keep a written record of everything. Later on, you will need all this record when investigations start. F, file a written complaint. The following 4 guideline points will further help. First point is, find your employer's anti-harassment policy and read it. Second, avoid engaging in inappropriate behavior. Third, if you believe you are a victim of harassment or witness harassment and have supervisory responsibilities, take a look at your employer's policy and follow it. Fourth, get a medical checkup done. If you have been raped or physically assaulted, go for a medical checkup. Obtain a medical report. This is important should you decide to pursue a legal case. Don't ignore harassment in the hope that it will go away. What to document during sexual harassment cases? Because documentation is such an important part of filling a valid sexual harassment claim, it is important to include every detail, no matter how minor. Failure to do so may result in losing the battle. In the code, the following aspects need to be documented. Specific information, including the time and date of all the details, people directly and indirectly involved, any reaction to the alleged sexual harassment, how the incidents made you feel, how it affected work performance, how it affected your general well-being. If possible, victims should write down these aspects in a chronological order as they happen so that they are fresh in the mind. After documenting all these things, remember to keep a backup in a safe place, preferably at home or somewhere away from the office for safekeeping. If you keep in your office drawer or something, that person against whom you have lodged the complaint, he will try to steal it, he will try to destroy it. I have seen people put the office on fire so that the document also gets burnt. Victims may also want to keep a journal that documents their feeling outside of work. This helps prove any type of mental anguish or stress they may feel, which helps to solidify their claim and the court case. Section 4, redressal of grievances. Any doubt so far? We have 15 minutes more. We'll cover redressal of grievances to some portion of it, if not full. Redressal mechanism. One minute. The Indian legislation provides a two-tier system of complaining. One is ICC and other is LCC. All workplaces employing 10 or more people are mandated to have ICC. Complaints from workplaces below 10, they all go to LCC. We have talked about it. It's just a repetition here. At the request of the complainant woman, the Act also provides for monetary settlement, conciliation, but it should not be monetary settlement. Half the time, without doing an investigation or inquiry, the mature ICC presiding officer make sure that both of them forget their grievances, shake hand, go back. But if she says, give me so much money for the compensation which your harassment caused me, it will not be monetary settlement. Further, if any of the conditions of the settlement as agreed during the conciliation is not complied by the respondent, the complainant can go back to the committee who will proceed to make an inquiry. What and where to complain? Well, the complaint has got to ICC or to LCC and nobody else. Don't say, I have reported to my department head or I have told the HR manager. No, the ICC head must get 6 copies of your complaint on a proper way. Complaint mechanism process. A grieved woman who intends to file a complaint is required to submit 6 copies of the written complaint. Note 6 copies. Why? Because maximum there are 5 members in a LCC, minimum 4 or maybe 5, 6, 7 members in ICC. Every member and the presiding officer has to be given a copy each. The respondent has to be given a copy to reply within 10 days. So that's why 6 copies are required. Along with all the supporting documents and names and addresses of the witnesses to the ICC or LCC within 3 months from the date of the incident, and in case of a series of incidents, within a period of 3 months from the date of last incident. If last incident happened more than 3 months ago, well, you have missed the bus. Lodging a complaint now in a court of law, you will lose the case. Earlier you do, instead of waiting for 3 months, in a week, 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, the earlier you do, more will be strong case. Because people will take at the face of it that immediately, without tolerating any nonsense, she has lodged a complaint in time. Prompt reporting of an act of sexual harassment is probably as important as swift action to be taken by the authorities on receiving a complaint. In fact, the more prompt the complaint is, the more authentic it becomes. Complaint mechanism process. 1 minute. Who can make the complaint? The woman herself can make the complaint. In case of any physical or mental incapacity, any one of the following, like Nirbhaya had died, but investigation has gone. Somebody else has lodged a complaint on her behalf. Who are those someone? Her relative, friend, special educator, qualified psychiatrist or psychologist, guardian under whom she is receiving care, any person who has information about the incidents but with the written consent of any of the above. If the aggrieved woman is unable to make a complaint due to her death or physical or mental incapacity, her legal heir or a person authorized by her may make the complaint. In case of death of the aggrieved woman, any person who has information about the incidents but with the written consent of her legal heir. The complaint layout. There is no fixed format for the layout of the complaint. It can be made on a plain white paper, A4 sheets, and 6 copies made. The complaint must have name and designation of the complainant, the name and designation of the respondent, the date, time, location of the incidents, working relationship between the parties, name and address of witnesses, if any. Attributes of a well-drafted complaint. Following attributes are there. The complaint should be addressed to the ICC or LCC. Complaint should be concise. It should be written in simple language which can be understood easily. Complaints that are well written and presented properly have great credibility. Details of exact incident, date, time, place, name and designation of witnesses, etc. to be included. Circumstances preceding and following the incidents to be recorded. Whether the complainant asked the respondent to desist from unwelcome act. Append as many documents as possible in whatever format. Any email, screenshots, SMSs, WhatsApp messages, phone call, details, photograph, any recording, it must be enclosed. Details of the respondent, including name, designation, reporting structure between complainant and the respondent, if any. Clearly mention the relief sought. For example, you want him to be transferred to a different location, or you want to conciliation with him and sort out the matter of the court. Do not state any fact that is false or incorrect, because for submitting false fact, you are liable to be punished, which we'll talk little later in detail. What can an employer oblique complainant expect? What can an employee oblique complainant expect? When it comes to redress for workplace sexual harassment, employee oblique worker has the right to expect a trained, skilled and competent complaint committee, a time-bound process, information confidentiality, assurance of non-retaliation, a very fair and unbiased inquiry, counseling or other enabling support where needed, assistance if the complainant opts for criminal proceedings. Disciplinary measures, non-criminal offences. Non-criminal means other than 354 section IPC, 354 A, B, C, D, and section 509. These sections do not apply at that time. Disciplinary measures are warning letter, withdrawal of previous recognized awards, suspension of service for a duration to be decided by complaint committee, relocation and or change of assignment, loss of increment and withdrawal of any benefits or demotion, dismissal or termination from service, deduction of salary for compensation or any other disciplinary action. These measures will be applicable to substantiated complaints or unsubstantiated complaints. The management shall provide all necessary assistance for effective implementation of the policy. In step form, I have written complaint handling and inquiry process. Step 1, written complaint is made by IC or LCC. If it is against the employer, then it has to go to LC. Step 2, committee reviews and calls for a meeting. Step 3, if informal resolution or conciliation is achieved, the case is closed. Step 4, if it is required investigation, the process is followed. Step 5, IC or LCC complete the investigation in 3 months. Step 6, recommendation is given to the company district officer within 10 days of the finishing inquiry. Step 7, in case of any issues, complaint respondent can appeal to the tribunal or court of law within 90 days. Step 8, the employer has to implement the recommendation of the ICC/LCC within 60 days of their receipt. In case of a domestic worker, like maid or something in the house, the LC shall, if prima facie case exists, forward the complaint to the police within a period of 7 days for registering the case under relevant section of the Indian Penal Code. Timelines. Submission of complaint within 3 months of the last incident. Notice to the respondent within 7 days of receiving copy of the complaint. Reply from the respondent is to be received within 10 days of receiving copy of the complaint. The completion of the inquiry has to be done within 90 days of the receipt of complaint. Submission of report by ICC/LCC to the employer or DO, district officer, within 10 days of completion of this inquiry. That means 90 days plus 10 more days, total 100 days to do all this work of submitting the finding. Implementation of the recommendation. Implementation has to be done within 60 days. Whatever punishment has been written, employer has to ensure that within 60 days that action has been taken. If any of the respondent or complainant wants to go further to the court, they don't agree with the finding, within 90 days, they have to approach them. In a graphical manner, the whole thing which I have described, I have mentioned here, the incidence of sexual harassment within 3 months, complaint made to ICC or LCC. If it is beyond 3 months, it is sometime there may be beyond 3 months, go down the arrow, reasons for delay to be recorded in writing, and they must be reasonable reasons. That within 3 months, she was unconscious, she gained her conscious only after 3.5 months, so she is making a complaint today. This is the reason for delay acceptable. This reason, 3 months can be extended maximum up to 6 months. Then complaint made to ICC, LCC, 2 options are available. One, employee request for a settlement, that is conciliation action, which should not be monetary. ICC to record settlement and forward the employer and both the parties, whatever is the finding. No further inquiry will progress. But in case there is no settlement possible, inquiry has to take place. Next flow chart will show you from inquiry onwards. Inquiry principles of natural justice have got to be followed. Inquiry report to be submitted to the employer and the parties. There are two options available: allegations not proved and allegation proved. Let's say first allegation proved. Within 60 days, punishment as per service rules. Employer has to give punishment within 60 days. Monetary penalty payable to the aggrieved woman also within 60 days. Within 90 days, they can appeal to the court or tribunal, either the complainant or the respondent. Second option was allegations not proved. Go right, top corner, no action to be taken, assessment of whether charge are false or malicious. Now, if ICC or LCC is to inquire whether the allegations were made with a malicious intention, inability to substantiate the complaint or provide adequate proof does not amount to maliceness. The complaint mechanism, we have discussed at length. The same thing is just written here, the complaint mechanism. The chart has been seen by you. On receipt of a complaint, it has all the information, it is proper, 6 copies are there, all such things are there within a time period of 10 days, it is to be sent, and so on. Informal resolution options, that means formal apology or counseling, written warning to the respondent and a copy of it maintained in the employee's file. Change of work assignment or transfer of either the respondent or the aggrieved person or both of them. Suspension of termination of service, whatever it is. This is the conciliation. Instead of reading the written thing, I'll just show you with the diagram. This is the diagram. Step 1, IC or LCC received the complaint. Step 2, committee members try to settle the matter through conciliation. Step 3, if conciliation is arrived at, the IC or LC record settlement and forward to employer or district officer. Step 4, IC or LC provide the copies of the settlement to aggrieved women as well as to the respondent. Step 5, IC or LC conducts no further inquiry. Only thing to keep in mind is this conciliation should be not on payment of money. It should be without any money being charged. 5-step approach we have just seen. This is the inquiry process which we have gone through in a chronological order. I have again made the slide, just glance through it. Inquiry process, we have talked about same thing. Rules of natural justice, I said I'll come later. This is the slide on the rules of natural justice. There are 3 important rules to be observed by the committee. Hearing, nobody can be condemned without being heard. Everybody must be given a chance to speak up his part of the story. Second, fair play. The judge must be impartial and act fairly and in good faith. Here, judge is written because it's taken from the law book. Here, judge means the presiding officer of the ICC or LCC. And absolutely reasoned order. Whatever orders are passed, they must be reasonable. You can't say pay 5 lakh fine in 6 months. You can say pay 5 lakh fine in 12 monthly installments. His salary may not be that much that he pays 5 lakh fine as a compensation in 6 months' time. Orders must be absolutely reasonable. Right? Interim relief, we have just said there are 3 types of interim relief. One is reporting on work performance of the aggrieved woman. It should be changed. Writing her confidential report of appraisal should be changed. Supervising her academic activities should change. If a professor or a teacher lodges a complaint against the head of the department, she must be transferred or he must be transferred to a different department. Supervising on her academic activities must stop forthwith. Transfer the complainant or respondent to any other workplace, neighboring institute or department or anything, whatever it is, take it off. Interim reliefs. Manner of taking action for sexual harassment. Disciplinary action including written apology, written warning, reprimand or censure, withholding of promotion, pay rise or increments, terminating the respondent from service, undergo counseling session, carrying out community service. Community service is sort of a punishment. You will water all the plants in the campus. You will clean from this to this area with a broom every morning before the start of the day. These are all community services. These are the type of punishment which are given. Determination of compensation. While determination of the compensation, the following aspects have got to be kept in mind. The mental trauma, pain, suffering, and emotional distress caused to the aggrieved employee. Loss in career opportunity due to incidents of sexual harassment. Medical expenses incurred by the victim for physical or psychiatric treatment. The income and status of the alleged perpetrator has got to be kept in mind while imposing some fine or something. Feasibility of such payment in lump sum or in installments. Action against the false complaint. Allegation against the respondent is malicious. Aggrieved woman has made the complaint knowing it to be false. Aggrieved woman production any false or misleading documents. Internal committee recommends action by the employer against such malicious complaint. Confidentiality has got to be maintained. Contents of the complaint, identity and address of the complaint, respondent and witnesses, information pertaining to conciliatory inquiry proceeding or recommendation, action taken by the employer or district officer. A fine of 5,000 rupees is to be imposed if anybody breaches this confidence, he discloses something, 5,000 rupees employer has to recover from that person who neglects it. Such a penalty is to be collected by the employer. Retaliation is bad, it shouldn't happen. It's an adverse action taken. Generally, whosoever is punished, he starts taking retaliation action. And if retaliation takes place, disciplinary action has got to be taken, which can be demotion, termination, salary reduction, negative performance, appraisal, change in job duties, or shift assignment. Protection against retaliation, intimidation, pressure to withdraw the case, threat. These are the generally three retaliation actions. You withdraw the case, a threat is given, or should the report to the complaint immediately. Handing of complaint with third parties, anybody who is a vendor, supplier, and so on and so forth. A student has come for taking admission and he or she is sexually harassed in your campus by some old student or something. It's all third party. Action has got to be taken against such vendors, supplier, customers, job seekers, and others, so on and so forth. Ex parte decision. If 3 times any of the parties is absent, 15 days time is given and the presiding officer has to say, I will give ex parte decision without hearing from you because you are absent. These are the rights of the complainant. Appeal, I have already talked, within 90 days appeal has to be given. These are the rights of the complainant. These are the rights of the respondent. She box. The last thing in this portion is she box. Shall I cover it up, ma'am, in 5 minutes, or we'll do it after lunch?
Sir, request you to cover after lunch. Because,
she box, 5-6 slides are there. After lunch, we'll cover it up. We'll start from here. She box. Right.
Sorry.
Break for lunch. 2 o'clock, we'll start from she box. Okay. Thank you so much. Keep your doubts noted down. Everything at the end, I'll try and clarify whatever you have. Okay.
I request all the participants to kindly open their videos for a while and simultaneously start filling your feedback form, which has been already shared by the host. And kindly rejoin us again sharp at 2 p.m. Sneha, anything else you would like to announce?
Participants can open their video. They are permitted now.